Alright, so today I want to talk about one of the things I believe really helps to make a calligraphy look beautiful, and that is the variation between thin and thick strokes. So why do we want this balance between thick and thin strokes? Well, if the calligraphy is all thick strokes, it's just going to look too heavy, too rough. And if the calligraphy is all thin strokes, it's just going to look too weak and hesitant. So how do we do this? How do we balance thick and thin? Well, you do it with two things, speed and pressure. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to switch the camera to my hands so that I can show you what I mean about speed and pressure. And we're going to do that while I demonstrate how to brush some hiragana characters. Why am I going to hiragana? Because I believe that hiragana is the perfect tool to help you develop that practice of thick and thin, to help you develop that skill of being able to control the brush and put pressure on the brush, because the hiragana characters are made for that. They're made of a combination of thick and thin. And if you can really master hiragana characters, you'll have no problem doing that in kanji. So to demonstrate this concept of thick and thin strokes, I'm going to brush a very easy character, which is the character for day or nichi. And I'm going to brush it with all thick strokes. So if I'm going to go like this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that doesn't look bad, but it doesn't have, it's all the same feeling on the kanji. It has the same weight. So if you want to give a little bit of variation to that weight and have a little bit more of a fluid, you need to start making some stroke thin and some stroke thick. And the way you're going to do that is by lightening the pressure and raising the speed of your brush. Obviously, if you go slow and put a lot of pressure, you're going to do thicker stroke. If you go faster and lift pressure, then you're going to do thinner stroke. But how are you going to combine these? Well, the first stroke, one, I would do it a little on the thick side. So I'm going to start 1 here and stop. Now number 2, I want to start this line here. I want to make it a little thin by applying a little bit of pressure, and then I'm going to go thick down and make that part down really thick while I make this thin. And then the stroke in the center is going to be thin because we're in the center, and then another one down here thick. So as you can see, there's the difference between these two, where this has the same thickness and the same weight throughout the kanji, has a different feel, which I believe it feels heavy. While this here has a little bit more harmony because it has that balance between thick and thin. Now if we're going to make this kanji all thin, while it may look fluid, it may look a little weak because it doesn't have any thick lines to create some weight to it. So if I was going to do the thin, I would probably do something like this. And as you can see, the kanji doesn't have much weight to it. Yes, it has a lot of motion, it has a lot more fluidity than this, but it doesn't carry any weight. And I could still do this more cursive. This is kaisho. I can still do a gyosho or a social version of this, but with that balance between thick and thin. And the way that I would do that, will come like this, then thin, then thick, thin and thick. And I start to get this balance over here of these thin lines with the thick lines. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the best way to learn how to have this thick and thin combination or balance is to practice the hiragana. Because the hiragana by its nature is very simplified kanji characters. They are very round, they're very fluid, and they require that combination of thick and thin. Yes, you can make hiragana all thick, but again, it's going to look heavy. If you want the hiragana to look smooth and beautiful like it usually does, you need to have that combination of thick and thin. So what I wanted to do here is demonstrate the first 4 characters of the hiragana, or the vowels, which are a, I, U, E, and O. Remember, in order to control this thick and thin balance, you need to control your speed and your pressure on the brush. So let's take a look at the first character of the hiragana, which is A. And A is composed of 3 strokes. 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, the first stroke here is thick. Second stroke, I start with pressure, and then as I come down, I speed up going downwards, and I release pressure to thin that stroke in the center. When I come on 3, I start thick, and then I release pressure, and I speed up to go 3, and then come down with pressure again. So that way creates the thin line here, and then the thick finish here. The second character in the hiragana is E. Now E is only 2 strokes, and it's very simple. So these may not carry as much thick and thinness as this one, but it does have some of the principles. 1, 2. So here, the importance is on the tip over here. So when you come down with pressure, you stop and you lift. And by lifting there, you have this little peak over here that's formed, that's very thin. And notice how the line, there's an invisible line that follows all the way to the next point as I come down. And that is important. The third character in the hiragana is U. U is composed of 2 strokes. The first one is a dot, and the second one is a line. So I'm starting with 1, 2. So stroke number 1 is a dot, and there's pressure on it because I'm setting the brush down. Number 2, I start with pressure, and as I take the corner, I'm going to release pressure so I can have the thin finish. The fourth character in the hiragana is E. E is composed of 2 strokes. Now E, by its nature, is mostly thick. So I'm going to start with 1, 2. And then the last one is O, and O is composed of 3 strokes. So we start with 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, it's very similar to A in terms of you start with a thick stroke first, and then you set your brush down and you speed up going downwards and releasing pressure to create a thin line here, and then go up, light pressure, and then finish with pressure as you take the corner here. That gives you a little bit of thickness, and then finish with the stroke number 3. The subject of this video, which is how to balance thick and thin strokes and how to do a practice that can help you develop that, was basically at the request of one of my students from my online course that wanted to figure it out how he can get better at it. He was actually asking for some sort of drill exercise. And I couldn't think of anything better than just practicing the hiragana, because I think the hiragana really has all the tools that you need to be able to develop that balance between thick and thin because of the nature of those characters. I've been working on the hiragana a lot lately because I'm developing a new course which is called Learn Shodo Advanced Techniques. You can check the link down below. It's not open yet. I'm still working on it, although you can put your name and sign up for the email list to be notified when the course is going to be open. But this course is just basically for those of you who have some basic understanding of Shodo. You either took my online course, my introductory online course, or you've taken Shodo classes somewhere else and you're ready to take it to the next level. And the hiragana is going to be a huge component of that course because the hiragana is really the foundation for cursive style writing. So I hope this video was helpful and that I give you a little bit of an insight on how you can have some rhythm, beauty, and continuity in your kanji characters by balancing thick and thin strokes. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.